Well, good afternoon, everybody, and may the 4th be with you. It is Star Wars Day, and we have an out-of-this-world panel today to discuss the admissions and recruiting process at Gettysburg College. You can see my panel here. It includes two of our esteemed head coaches, BJ Dunne from men's basketball and Annette Hunt-Shepard from the softball team, as well as Senior Associate Director of Admissions and some other fun stuff on his title, too, that he can break down, Darryl Jones. Guys, thanks a lot for joining me today. We're going to have an interesting conversation, both about the regular and traditional recruiting methods that you guys all engage in, as well as what you guys are dealing with now with the current situation with the coronavirus. So before we get into that, I'd like to take a moment and just let everybody kind of introduce themselves and just say how long they've been at Gettysburg and any other fun facts about you. So BJ, let's start with you.
Absolutely. Excited to be here, talk about the recruiting process. I'm BJ Dunne. I just completed my second season as our head men's basketball coach. I guess a fun fact about me is my wife is an alum. She graduated in 2008 and was an All-American women's lacrosse player at the college.
Yep, that was my first year at Gettysburg, was the 2007-8 season. So I had the pleasure of watching Megan for one season. Definitely BJ's better half. Annette, how about you? We just determined how long you've been at Gettysburg, so you should be able to answer that one.
Right. So according to Corey, I'm in my 7th year, or I've completed my 7th year, or I guess it's kind of completed. So at Gettysburg College, I've been coaching since 2001. And most of the time, a fun fact about me is just I've played a lot of different sports.
You are certainly a well-rounded individual. We were talking about your ring at Maryland in the ACC. Of course, got to give a shout out to Jeremy too, who's also plugging away, Director of Athletic Communications at Wilson College, and of course your two daughters as well. What's it like at home with them?
You know, I think their teachers are losing interest so that they're having more fun now. So it was a lot of homeschooling, and even though they have about 5 more weeks of school and classes online, they're playing a lot. So it's a little more fun, but it's very structured. I run a pretty tight ship.
Awesome. Thanks, Annette. Of course, last but not least, the man who needs no introduction, but we're going to give him one anyways, Darryl Jones. Gosh, you've been here a while, buddy, and we've got a 3-decade team going on with these Zoom calls. So tell a little bit about yourself to the people.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me, Corey, and good to be with you, coaches. So I'm Darryl Jones, Senior Associate Director of Admission, but I'm also Coordinator for Multicultural Admission and the Intercollegiate Athletics Liaison. This is year 35 at Gettysburg College, Corey, and it's been a fast and enjoyable 35. Fun fact for me, and I, like other springtime coaches, are missing out, but I have volunteered with the track and field program at Gettysburg College for 35 years, coached a number of All-Americans, and one Pakistani Olympian in the name of Arif Hussain.
Yep, of course, Arif competed at the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona, Spain. And he was one of our last national champions, actually, in the 200-meter dash, correct, Darryl?
That is correct. And somewhere in this room, and I had it available, but don't know where it is now, I actually have his Olympic number from Barcelona that he gave to me as a gift. So I keep it locked away, and that's why I can't find it right now.
You've had certainly a great run with the track and field program the last 35 years. A lot of great memories there. We could go on all day about the track and field program, some of the great programs we have here, including softball, men's basketball, but we're going to focus on admissions and recruiting. And of course, I'm Corey Jewett. I've been here 13 years. Forgot to introduce myself. I'm the Director of Athletic Communications. I have absolutely done no recruiting or really admissions work in my 13 years. One of the few things I haven't delved into, so I'm relying on the experts to kind of break it down for everybody. And we're going to start with the coaches. And I think it's really interesting. You know, I was in high school a long time ago, and I remember interacting with the basketball coach at my alma mater, Allegheny, a long time ago. And I think it's always interesting when coaches, for the first time, get to see athletes. And Annette and BJ, I know you guys probably have different perspectives on when you actually see the athletes for the first time Annette, how about you? When do you see the athletes? When do you get to interact with them for the first time when they're in high school?
It varies. Sometimes the first time we've seen a prospective student athlete is when they've attended one of our fall or winter camps or clinics, and they've come as maybe a freshman or sophomore in high school, and then that interest has been gained, and then we will put together a pretty robust summer schedule with travel. And for softball, the summer recruiting season is huge. It's every weekend. Some of the tournaments now have extended from Tuesdays to Sunday. So these are extensive tournaments. They're all across the country, from Atlanta, Tennessee, California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland. I mean, they're everywhere. So being able to see them when they're sophomores, juniors, and then attending those tournaments, academic showcases are huge. There's just a lot of excitement around the sport of softball, and so there's a lot of opportunities for these prospective student athletes to be seen.
Out of curiosity, just with the advancements in technology, have you been using recruiting videos more than, say, 10 years ago?
Yes. So I generally, when a student athlete a prospective player will send me an email, I'll always request a video clip. I want to get some kind of idea of their potential, and it doesn't have to be something that's paid for. It can be, right now sometimes it's best just from their phone, and it's easier to get it to me. But I can tell you, with this current situation, I really signed up to be a coach because I like working outside, right? So the fact that I'm not in a field is like driving me crazy. So I've requested all videos. So if you're running up and down your stairs, I'd love to see you train. I'm pretty much, anything I can get my hands on right now is better than looking and answering emails. So I'm watching a lot of video right now, and it's just continuing. I think some of the recruiting services that we'll use also are really encouraging all videos, so that the coaches we're being able to see, the training behind the scenes. So a student athlete can show us that I don't just work on the field, coach, I'm working off the field. I know right now, I don't know when my next game is, but look at me, I'm working, and I love seeing it.
Thank you, Annette. BJ, same question for you with the young aspiring bullets. I know you run your ID camps as well, and there's also opportunities in the summer with AU camps and other opportunities for basketball. So what's it look like for you? When do you make connections, interact with recruits?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very similar to what Annette was saying about some of those first interactions or when they're on campus at our prospect camps. But I'm really fortunate that we have a really great coaching staff with Evan Elberg and Dan Haddon. And last spring, throughout the summer and into the fall, they've done a really great job not only focusing on our 2020 class, which we're wrapping up now, but we started putting an emphasis on just compiling a list of names of 21s that we felt like could impact winning for us on and off the court. And that's really helped us. And, no one could have prepared for this type of pandemic to hit where we're in quarantine, and who knows when we're going to be able to get back out and live evaluate. But for us, we really start that process with current juniors in February and March, having them come to campus, visiting Gettysburg, kind of getting them hooked, getting them engaged. And then in April for men's basketball, there's 2 major recruiting weekends, which unfortunately we've missed out on this year. And that's really when we start having an opportunity to evaluate some of those players that we've developed those relationships with. Maybe we've had them visit, and maybe some of them are coming to our prospect camp in May, which would have been yesterday for us. So that was a bummer to not have that prospect camp and get back out on the court and really start coaching again. We're all getting that itch. And then, throughout the summer, there's camps, there's tournaments, and we just kind of continue to evaluate. And as we start to identify players that are separating themselves from the rest of the group, we're also looking for them to separate Gettysburg from the rest of the group. And we really want to identify players that want us as well. So, in short, that February, March is a great time in their junior year to visit. April is a great opportunity for us to evaluate. We continue to do that over the summer, get some foot traffic. And then the fall is really when our list starts to shrink, and we invite those student athletes for overnight visits.
That's a pretty good segue into my next question, BJ, where you're talking about Gettysburg, and obviously we want to offer them a unique experience. So we'll stick with you before switching to Annette. How do you try to sell your program in the institution? What are some key things you try to express to your recruits?
For sure. So I live with a bullet. So I've always been just so impressed with the Gettysburg experience. And I know I talk a lot about that in my interview, and I talk about that daily when I'm at Gettysburg. And it's really helped me formulate my vision for our program, and really, what we believe in when we're talking about Gettysburg and men's basketball. And, the first thing we sell is the community. I think a lot of colleges, are going to promote and sell you on the people in the community. But I think very few can live up to the hype like Gettysburg can. It impresses me every single day how engaged the community is, how genuine the community is, and just how supportive it is. And I think Gettysburg is one of the few institutions that can really offer students and I guess student athletes in particular with this conversation, the holistic experience. So the first thing we talk about is academically. You're going to get one of the top liberal arts college degrees when you graduate, and just the experience from the classroom, from the connection that you get with your professors, like the way our players talk about their professors, the way they talk about the classroom experience. As a coach, it makes you like really proud to know that they're really engaged in that area as well. I also think from a curriculum standpoint, like the emphasis that the school places on like leadership, integrative thinking, and its communication skills are all things that we value in our program and athletics in general. So knowing that the school values that academically is really important to us when we sell that. And then from a social experience, there's tons of clubs, there's tons of extracurriculars. Obviously you have athletics, but we really sell the leadership center, what the Center for Career Engagement is doing right now, in particular for our student athletes, and the Gettysburg Connect, not just our network for men's basketball, but at the college. And, we use the buzz phrase is like 80% of our students do an internship in 4 years, 98% are employed or have graduated, are enrolled in graduate school in the past year. Like that pops out potential recruits and their families. And then we kind of segue into athletics. And athletics, I think, is a major personality of the college, and it's an institution that really sees value in what athletics can offer the student athletes and the institution, and the educational piece, the well-being piece. As a department, we've won over 100 conference championships. Like winning is second nature here. It's expected. We're all competitive. And in men's basketball, we play in one of the best basketball conferences in the country. And this year might have been the best. I mean, you had the number 1 team and the number 6 team who were in our conference, and we have to play them twice. And, we played both of those teams really close in our athletic facilities. And the Princeton Review have been ranked top 20. They're on level with Division I institutions. So if you're looking to play basketball, one of the best conferences in the country, but also have a scholarship type experience, we have a state-of-the-art locker room that very few scholarship schools have. And then in particular, our program, there is a winning success. There has been tradition. We've been in the NCAA tournament 5 times, 3 times centennial champs. We haven't hung a banner in 10 years. And we're really looking for players that are intrinsically motivated, that just don't want to walk into the gym and see all these banners and expect that they're just going to get it handed to them, that are going to have the work ethic and the drive to really help us, turn the corner and take the next step. And it's going to be necessary. We've talked about how good the league is, but we think with the sell, the academics, the social, and then with the athletic personality of the college and where our program is heading, we believe that, we can attract some of the best basketball players in the country to help us compete on a national level.
Pretty good sell. If you're in the market for a 6'4" swingman, let me know.
I'm in. I've seen you play every Tuesday, Thursday, Corey. You're in.
As long as someone passes to me and I spot up from the wing, we're good.
That's fine. You're a good corner shooter too.
I'll take it. And how about you? You echo some of the same sentiments that BJ just expressed?
Yeah, I'm thinking about inviting him onto some of my recruiting calls. Since Zoom, you can have multiple people on. He talks a lot about this, what's special about Gettysburg, and I think, one of the things, once we identify who's a solid academic fit for the institution, then I want them on campus. One of the worst things that can happen is I invite a student athlete on campus too soon. They're not a solid academic fit, and they fall in love with Gettysburg. I have yet to find a student athlete who visits campus who doesn't absolutely fall in love with Gettysburg College. And what it is it's how Gettysburg makes a person feel even on their first visit. So it's when they walk into the door of admissions, they see a smiling and friendly face. When they're walking across campus on their tour, they're talking with a tour guide who's a student and provides a little more perspective as a student. The people are really special at Gettysburg, and that community is felt once they step foot on campus. So I think I wouldn't even say I sell Gettysburg. I think it sells itself because it's authentic and it's a special place. It's one of those things when you step on campus and you visit, you see all the people from going through admissions with a tour and info session, walking around campus, going into the dining hall, the young men or young women working in the dining hall or bullet hole or servo, greeting with a friendly face and more than happy to tell you how to pick up food from this area or that area. It's very student centered, and that's from the faculty and staff all the way to the clubs and organizations that they can participate in outside of athletics. And then finally, it's what's near and dear to my heart is softball. So when I talk about our program, I'm open, I'm transparent. I really drive home that our mission, which is to make postseason and take care of our people. And there's a lot involved in that. We're a values-based, purpose-driven program. And once they felt the community, the student athletes that we recruit, and they'll know right away once they meet with us and our current student athletes, whether or not they want to be in orange and blue for the 4 years, of their college career. So, I don't really have to sell much. I just have to get them to campus. And right now in the virtual life, it's these virtual moments that we get. And right now I can tell you that the student athletes that are reaching out to us, the prospective players, they're hungry. They want to get out there. They want us to be communicating with them.
And of course, too, it's an easy sell for that softball field. You've got literally the battlefield to the north of the field in the shadow of the Peace Light Memorial, which was erected on the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg in 1938. So it's a very scenic view, in my opinion, unmatched in the country. Someone else might beg to differ, but it's our chat, so we can say what we want. So Darryl is on deck. We have one little question, and this is actually going to set him up for the big hit. So the question is for BJ and Annette, when do you bring in admissions? When do we bring in Darryl Jones? When do we make that contact with financial aid? Annette, if you want to go ahead and start this one off, and then we'll swing it to BJ if he has anything to add to it.
Sure. So I bring the admissions scope into play right away with any prospective student athlete, because I want them to understand what being a student at Gettysburg is like. And in order to do that, you have to have a base. So this is what the average student at Gettysburg has. And we talk about a little bit about test scores, but about the GPA, about the hard work in the classroom. So once we start into that, I immediately talk about our admission standards. And then once we talk about admissions, if they have questions about financial aid, we'll address them. But usually when a student athlete gets to campus, that's when they go through the tour, the info session, they meet with us, they meet with the current players, and then I'll answer questions. And then I'll also, we've got some great people in admissions and financial aid. So they can literally walk back to admissions and someone's going to give them the time and answer all their questions about the process, about the early read process. Then they can walk across the street and just right up the road a little bit, not even a block, and go in and talk with someone from financial aid so that they can get all their questions answered. It's really a neat place. And I went to the University of Maryland. I might have had to make an appointment like 2 weeks ago, to get an appointment. So it's really unique. So I bring those pieces into play as soon as those questions arise. I'm real transparent, and that's just how I best operate.
BJ, anything to add on what Annette said about bringing in admissions and financial aid before we kick it to
No, very similar. When prospective student athletes come to campus, we bring them right to admissions with the tour. Maybe they're doing an info session. Maybe we're at that place in the fall where they're going to, do the interview. And then I just think the transparency with admissions and the coaching staff, and then, financial aid, we're all a team and everyone understands that we're a team. And it's all about helping these prospective student athletes find the right fit, which we all believe is going to be Gettysburg. I think what Annette said was spot on. That we don't have to do much selling. When kids come to Gettysburg, they love Gettysburg, and they're going to love it for their 4 years and want to continue to give back. I think that's how you define such a special place. And with that, everyone is just so committed in making sure that the families feel comfortable that this is going to end up being their choice and willing to help in that.
Thank you very much, coaches. And that brings up Darryl Jones. Darryl, before I start off with the first question I have lined up for you, I have a question. Did you do the read on BJ Wife's application back in 2004? Can you remember that far?
I can remember quite a bit, and I will tell you that the early read process is a part that takes a deeper meaning, of course, for some of the athletes, because when I'm doing the early read, it's not long after that I'm actually meeting them. So I can remember the actual early read process, the personal, interaction, and also seeing the application within not many months. So I absolutely do. Great student, great athlete.
Carol was banging down your door. I heard that she was coming in late for that one.
Well, thank you, Darryl. Of course, Megan had a great career too. So thank you for helping her get here as well. So Darryl, obviously we talk about this collaborative effort between athletics, admissions, the recruitment effort. And one of the things I've been so impressed with in my 13 years is just that open line of communication, phone calls. You come over to athletics all the time and the interactions back and forth. And as Annette said, if there's a student athlete on campus, they go to admissions, they get the answers they need. Just talk about that relationship and how it's so vital for this working structure and process that we have.
Well, Corey, part of what we have here is already what you noticed. It is direct and open communication that is honest. So I do talk to many colleagues at other admissions offices that don't really have that much interaction directly with coaches. And I wonder how it is that they do their jobs. Because with me, if either BJ or Annette or any of the other coaches has a hot prospect, we're not emailing forever, we're talking about them. And then it's about understanding that if coaches want to pursue someone, maybe find out whether or not they're going to be admissible, which is practically all the time because they recruit such great students, and whether or not they might qualify for a merit-based scholarship. There's a process by which the coaches get the athlete to submit their transcripts, their testing, an idea of the senior courses. I give them a direct answer that says, this is what I think will happen as long as this all continues through the senior year. So that way, when the coach is communicating to an athlete, they are literally able to say, from the person who's going to make the decision, you are not just admissible, but you are also going to be a presidential scholar if things work out. So for us to be able to give direct answers to families says that our relationship with coaches allows for great customer service, and that's really what it's all about. So I love the fact that, of course, I'm the liaison and I love working with coaches, but I trust any one of my colleagues in the office to give a great interview, to give a great information session, whether it's a part of our general session or a separate one for just athletic recruits, because my staff understands that some years 20, maybe 25% of the people coming in are recruited athletes for a Gettysburg team. So the power of the athletic experience, especially given that when you look at our athletic in-season GPA, it's as high as or usually higher than the all-student GPA. I mean, it allows us to sell that we are dealing with scholar athletes who are going to get a full experience. And the fact that we have coaches that are, I mean, all of our head coaches are full-time, but so are many of our assistants. So it's coaching athletes, but it's mentoring them. It's being a connection with the professors. It's having coaches that are known commodities on campus so that they're an integral part of the community. So for me, even though there are lots of great enjoyable parts to my job, one of the most enjoyable is working with coaches and their prospective athletes and parents as part of this process. I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Annette kind of alluded to this earlier because she obviously attended the University of Maryland, big Division I. Describe how the process at Gettysburg, a Division III private liberal arts institution, how it might differ from a bigger school like Maryland or some of your Division II schools, particularly when it pertains to student athletes.
So part of it is that we can allow it to be more personal and more direct. So it's, sometimes the case at Division I schools that the only interaction that an admissions person has with a prospective student athlete is a chance meeting. I know that when I was looking at this whole process, and this was about 1 million years ago, I never met anyone from admissions at Penn State University, but I ended up on the track and field team having a great athletic experience and academic experience. But at Gettysburg, we can allow it to be more personal. So if BJ or Annette has someone that they want to bring into the office, they can ask to speak with me, and I'll sit down with a family even without an appointment. I can give direct answers and say, look, this isn't just the coach saying you're admitted. I did the early read. I know it because I'm making the decision. So there's no confusion about whether or not a person is getting the right message. I do hear often from our coaches, because so many of our coaches in our great program have a Division I overlap with some of the athletes. It breaks my heart when I hear that an athlete has been led along to believe they're going to be admitted by the coach, and then they don't get admitted. So suddenly we have a later application or someone who's dissatisfied with the process. At Gettysburg and smaller places, it is direct, open communication. It is, here's your answer from the person who's going to make the decision, and also from both my dean, Gail Sweezy, and myself. We spend separate time saying, let's look at athletic applications, knowing again that these are easy decisions because they're all so bright, but let's make sure that we're responding to these families so that coaches can get back to them faster, so that people understand what's happening. And because that link includes financial aid, when I say someone's admissible, then BJ or Annette or other coaches can say, well, let's get you to do the net price calculator. Because Gettysburg's is an in-house process, that net price calculator for need-based aid is going to be highly accurate. So not even all Division III schools do that. But again, with the number of liaisons I know at Division III schools and Division I schools for that matter, there just isn't as much direct interaction. And so part of what I value is that families always get the straight scoop because there is no mystery.
Of course, that was a great segue to my next question, which concerns financial aid. Obviously, you and I talked about it. The financial aid office is just crushing it right now and getting the job done. So shout out to Catherine, Amy, Christina, Stacy, the whole office over there for what they're going through right now. It is an extremely busy time of year. Let's just put that out there right now for admissions and financial aid. So Darryl, you offered to kind of talk on their behalf a little bit with the financial aid process and how that all kind of breaks down a little bit.
So part of what is great about Gettysburg, and I don't know how prevalent this is elsewhere, Corey, but these folks are packaging, of course, the first year entering people and also the rising classes. So they're about 4 times as busy as anyone else. But what is great is that at Gettysburg, even at the prospective stage, if someone's a junior and fills out the net price calculator, that counselor is their counselor until they graduate from Gettysburg College. So the fact that we know that BJ, Annette, Carol, all the other coaches can say, look, you're going to be in contact with this person, and there's no need to re-explain your story because you have the same counselor for 4 years. It allows us again to do a service-based recruitment for our student athletes and for everybody. So that office is so hardworking, and because last year they dispersed a very high dollar amount, I mean, we can't do our job at admissions, coaches can't do their job with recruiting without that integral part of financial aid. And again, it's a seamless communication because between athletes and coaches and the admissions office and the financial aid office, we again have direct communication that is open. So again, I'm pretty fortunate to be where I am because even though the financial aid office is incredibly busy, they are able to respond within a reasonable amount of time to any prospective family's needs and make whatever adjustments they need to at a given time. Especially important now because lots of their lives is reconfiguring financial aid packages for people whose employment statuses have changed.
Darryl, my last question about the admissions process concerns that timeline. Like everybody wants to know the timeline for early decision, and I know you guys have that right on your admissions website too. So if you can just throw out those usual traditional dates. This year's a little odd, a little off, but the traditional dates when students should be looking for the application letters, the whole process, early decision, getting the dot.
So our process is pretty straight ahead, Corey. So early decision round 1, which is the I'm definitely coming because I love Gettysburg College and I've done my research. I know it's the right place and I've done my financial aid homework as well, has a deadline of November 15th. So students that want to apply for early decision round 1 can submit their free application for federal student aid or the FAFSA, the College Scholarship Service or CSS profile form, and the common application to us. And we can get back to people literally within a month with early decision round 1. So lots of coaches lock up their recruits at that time, which allows their recruits at the Division III level to make a commitment, which I love seeing. For round 2, that shares the deadline with our regular decision. So regular decision and early decision round 2 are both January 15th. Again, we want the financial aid forms to be submitted. But with early decision round 2, we can do a 2 or 2.5 week turnaround time. And with regular decision, it's almost a date that will live in infamy because we literally released our decisions on Friday the 13th. And that is immediately when the state of Pennsylvania was locked down. So it is made for an interesting spring. But what I've loved is that our coaches were nimble. And so with all the junior recruitment now, with us talking about, these are going to be the deadlines next year, but here's how we can look at you. We know that your schools might not be offering as much in the way of schooling. The grading scales might have changed. You might be doing pass-fail one place, modified grading the next, traditional grading the next. People can't take the SAT or ACT, but that's not a big deal because we happen to be test optional, which is great and have been for a long time. So with our admissions and athletic recruitment, we just keep rolling right along because we're all so flexible and we also had a number of processes in place to make for a good working relationship. I do worry for the places that haven't had such a close collaboration, but since that's not Gettysburg College, I'm not worried that much about them.
Thank you, Darryl. You're a fountain of knowledge when it comes to the admissions process. So thank you for your input there. I'm going to swing back to the coaches now. So you guys, you have all kinds of levels of recruits, obviously, but let's go with the top tier. So BJ, I'll start with you. You got a 6'9" power forward coming in with high grades, looking for that presidential scholarship. You meet with Darryl Jones. He tells you he's in. Describe the feeling.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Well, we just got a 6'9" skilled power forward a couple of weeks ago, so I've still been living large. It's a really good feeling. Like, I think what Darryl was saying, just that collaboration, knowing all of like your efforts in kind of searching and finding, right? It's like fishing. Like, you throw the hook in and you bait them, and then you pull them out of the water, you're starting to reel them in, and then you both realize, hey, this is a really good fit for both of us, and kind of go back home together. So it's a really, really good feeling knowing that all the hard work that we've done, but also what the student athlete, the hard work that they've done in the classroom is going to be rewarded too. And it's a school like Gettysburg that understands rewarding the hard work that your student athletes put forward in the classroom and on the court.
Annette, how about you? I know you like those speedy players in the outfielder. So we'll go with like a lefty solid hitter, today's version of Joy Hallfors, who I know you were disappointed you didn't get to coach.
Yeah. Oh, wow. She was so fast. When I hear that a player is committing to Gettysburg, I sincerely feel just joy for that student and student athlete, because I know and I believe in my heart of hearts that they are going to have a great 4-year experience. Like, I just know that they made a great decision. And whether or not they're excited with their parents, but I think that conversation with me, and then I directly connect them with a current student athlete, it just makes it like, welcome to the family. We don't have a hierarchy. So it's like, you're one of us, and what a privilege it is to wear orange and blue. And I got to tell you, our alums remember when they received that notification that they were admitted to Gettysburg College. They have those pictures in their shadow boxes when they graduate. That's a special moment. And really, any alum you talk to will talk about the admissions, but then they'll talk about what a great experience they had. And that's the entire campus experience, including athletics, of course.
If you don't mind a brief interruption, I had the joy, no pun intended, to coach Joy in her indoor track and field. Truly one of the fastest and most gifted athletes I ever coached, and literally was a privilege to have her with us before she transitioned to outdoor softball. But honestly, had there been 14 days in a week and we would have been able to have Joy do both, I mean, she literally was one of the best raw talent athletes to ever get through Gettysburg College. So thank you for lending her to us for a few years.
Yeah, she was special. She's special. She helped us my first year here. She was came back and helped coach. And we just had our, kind of scrimmage against our team. We couldn't get her out. So here I am trying to build the confidence of my program and my players, and we can't get an out. So we're like, run 80%. Joy, run 80%.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Joy Fry Hallfors was, I believe, a silver medalist in the long jump in indoor track and field, and then she was also a 4-time all-conference performer in the outfield and finished as our record holder in career hits before it was broken by Melissa Ty a few years later. So she was pretty good. My next question, BJ and Annette, obviously the collaborative relationship with admissions and financial aid is unmatched. Just describe what it means to you guys to have that kind of relationship. BJ, I see you're unmuted, so we'll start with you.
I think we've all kind of said it in just a variety of ways, but I think recognizing that we're all on the same team, and like Annette was saying, that the joy that she feels when she has student athlete commit to the college, knowing the type of experience that they're going to get here for 4 years. I think from admissions, financial aid, to athletics, to just the encompassing the entire Gettysburg community, we all understand the type of experience and how valued that is that we can provide to these prospective student athletes and prospective students in general. And I just think it's a really great feeling knowing that we're all going to work together to ensure that it's going to be as fluid of a process as it possibly can, as recruiting can sometimes be a roller coaster, but trying to make it a little bit, fluid, where there's transparency, where there's direct lines of communication, and ensuring that, these, student athletes are going to be taken care of. And I think as a coach, that's all you could want. We're going to spend a lot of time, evaluating prospects in these gyms over the summer where you have no idea what time of day it is because there's no windows, and, you're snacking on fast food, and, you're in these long car rides on D3 budgets. And then, how hard these recruits have been working to get their dream of being a college athlete. And the fact that the college understands that from all sides, and as coaches, we understand what we can provide them when they get here. It's a really great, it's very unique. And we're all really fortunate to have each other.
Annette, how about you? What's it mean to have, Darryl and the admission staff and the rest of the financial aid team have your back?
Yeah, it's tremendous. I feel as if, I would have answered this question a little differently my first couple years here, coming from another institution. And now that I'm ingrained in it, 7 years in, I think it's 7. It's almost, natural to feel like it should be collaborative. Why wouldn't it be? But I can tell you from my previous experiences, at a lot of places, it's not. Very separate, very compartmentalized across campus. And so the fact that we collaborate, that we're in the same division, it's huge. We always have an idea of what they're doing, they know what we're doing, and then we try to, how can we make this better? And to get different viewpoints, can't say enough about it. It's the best way.
And Darryl, of course, the end result for you is that you see these young men and women when they first are interested in Gettysburg, and then you see them on the field. I mean, we already talked about Joy. You talked about Arif. There's been so many student athletes that you've seen out there. What's it mean to you to step out there, come to a basketball game and see someone that you helped get admitted, or go out to Bobby Jones Field and see a softball player kicking butt out there on the dirt?
For me, it's not just what I see them do in their various athletic realms. It's how they represent the campus. I mean, BJ, my gosh, we had one of your great athletes who was featured on the web about just leadership. And he came to one of our fall staff retreats just to talk about his experiences as a student. My staff is talkative. They were stunned silent at how brilliant, articulate, and just amazing good gosh. We could have bottled that and made it a recruitment video for Gettysburg College. But the fact that I get to see them in their natural light before and after practice, because during indoor track and field, I get to see the guys coming to and from the locker room, and the fact that they show respect to every single person they pass, not just me, but they say hello, good evening, good afternoon to everybody they pass in the hallway, whether it's a coach of another sport, a visitor, or someone else. I also get to see, of course, the athletes as they're dressing to go out for their outdoor sports in the springtime. So for me, it's those little interactions and the chance that I get to send a note that says nice game, or you really did a good job at that open house representing the athletic experience, or thank you for bringing that recruit over. It was great to catch up with you and know how your academic and athletic life are meshing. So love watching them obviously compete, but for me, it's those little 20-second, 30-second, 2-minute interactions when they're going to and from a contest, after a contest, or when I see them on campus in the middle of the day, that really makes it special. And again, because it's such a large percentage of our student body, I just am so proud and amazed at what they become after they graduate from Gettysburg College. You know, high schoolers hear a lot of pregame, halftime, postgame speeches, but what I see is that when people are applying to med school, people are working on Wall Street, people are becoming lawyers, teachers, whatever else, they actually live out those things. And so I have a preference for athletes, and what our coaches do makes it easy because everybody knows, again, they are great students. So even though at Gettysburg, you know, the admit rate is traditionally 45%, which makes us one of only a couple hundred institutions out of 4,000 that accept fewer than 50%, you can be guaranteed that recruited athletes, I mean, there are years that the admit rate for athletes is in the high 90% range. And again, these are brilliant students who are leaders, who are collaborators, and who live out every single value that we want them to at Gettysburg. And because I have such great trust with all the coaches, I don't have to worry about character. I don't have to worry about attitude. The coaches vet that for me, and that's why I think I have one of the best jobs on campus.
So obviously we wanted to touch on the current situation because it's changed how you guys are interacting with recruits, how you guys are interacting as colleagues as well. And, you know, a lot of Zoom calls, that's kind of become the norm for a lot of people across the country. So what have you guys been doing from that perspective to still maintain that level of engagement, that unique community that we really harp on at Gettysburg? Darryl, if you want to take the lead here, because I know you've been on a lot of Zoom calls with all the coaches recently, and you have some scheduled for tomorrow, I think, too, right?
Hey, with men's lacrosse, so we've done lots of things. Here's what's been great. Our coaches, you know, the coaches and I spend a little bit of time before the athletes join, just connecting with each other, because I miss seeing, these are my buddies and my professional colleagues. So for me, it's been good to catch up with them, even though they're occupying a 3-inch by 2-inch box on a screen. But then from there, being able to tell their recruits how much I respect their potential future coach, being able to tell these recruits, and sometimes with parents, you can trust your son or daughter with this coach because this is someone I trust as a professional colleague. I mean, if you want to talk about making the best of a tough situation that is certainly unprecedented, then at Gettysburg we have it. So certainly looking forward to a women's lacrosse group tomorrow night, and I know I've got women's soccer and men's soccer coming up, and the big night on Wednesday with BJ's squad. So for me, it's nothing but enjoyment. I, of course, really wish we could do it in person because then it's really fun. But we're making the best of what we can because our coaches are such great professionals and good at doing the initial outreach, so that when I swoop in to talk to people about how we work together, they know it's authentic and they know that we're not putting on a show. It's real at Gettysburg.
Yeah, we did the same thing, getting on, just kind of talking before we got on today, realizing that we wore the same exact polos, except Annette. Next time, Annette, we'll coordinate better. So BJ and Annette, obviously I have the same question for you and how you guys are engaging your perspective student athletes as well. BJ, I don't know if you're getting clips of backyard basketball on courts all across the country or how that's shaping up. I know we talked before everyone else got on that you have a big recruiting thing going on. You've got 50 recruits or so coming on to talk too. So how's it changed for you? We'll start with you, BJ.
Well, the only reason we're having around 50 is because we got Darryl on Wednesday night. So they're all going to get off when they get to the portion of the basketball now. So it definitely has changed. We haven't seen any backyard basketball video yet. But, we have a lot of free time now as coaches, so we're really trying to be as creative and innovative as we possibly can in how we deliver Gettysburg and our men's basketball program to prospective student athletes. I actually gave a tour to a 2020 about a month ago in my car, and I called them in their car via Bluetooth, and I drove them around campus. I hope I never have to do a tour like that again, but whatever it takes to land a commitment at this point. But, we're doing virtual visits. We're doing a lot of Zooms, a lot of FaceTimes. We've kind of talked as a staff, like if we come out of this and we don't know our top recruits like the back of our hand, we didn't do a good enough job. And we've come up with a timeline of content that we're going to, text out to recruits. So we're constantly trying to keep them engaged with what we believe are really important to Gettysburg, into our men's basketball program. And then, we've been I think this is a great opportunity for recruits right now where they're not being inundated with AAU practices, club practices, camps, tournaments, showcases, their phones blowing up, getting mail, emails. Like, it's a slower time where I think they have an opportunity to really pause and reflect. And instead of their list grow, or they create their list based on which schools are reaching out to them, it's a great opportunity, which I think recruiting was, like 10, 14 years ago, where you really, as a recruit, you identified the 7 to 8 schools that you really wanted to be at, and you understood what it offered you academically, what it offered you socially, and you knew about the athletic program. And I'm hopeful that that's going to be the case this time around as well, where they really are being very thoughtful about what they want in a college experience. So that's my thought process, with it. But just trying to build as strong as relationships as possible, because we may not get those live evaluation opportunities. And, you want to find the players that are going to impact winning for you and impact the community. And, you can try and identify the best people possible through those connections that you're building.
Annette, how about you? How has your recruiting kind of changed? I've actually seen a lot of videos out there of baseball and softball players really getting back to basics, like hitting off tees and things that they can do without having to utilize a whole big field and 9 other people.
Yeah, throwing a tennis ball against the garage door, just fielding it. It's amazing the things that I actually did to get better. I didn't have private coaches back in the day, so it's great to see them, kind of go back, and it actually looks like they're enjoying it too. So that's helpful, because some of the videos we'll see of the skill sessions, I mean, they're driven clearly, and it's pretty neat. But what we're doing, and quite honestly, it might have been 2 to 3 weeks ago, I reached out to Darryl because I was struggling. I thought, how do I help these prospective students feel Gettysburg, and not just see it, scroll through online and see pictures, which they're great, and kind of get an idea. But what makes us special is how Gettysburg really makes you feel when you're on campus. And so I reached out to Darryl and I said, hey, this is how I traditionally do a visit. What do you think? And he's like, and he's the follow through guy, right? So I just kind of needed some leadership. And so Darryl's like, let's do it. Like, set it up. Give me a date. So it was awesome. So then we did, we've done 2 virtual visits, and and then I had a current student athlete. So one of the things that when a prospective recruit does when they visit campus is they'll do a full admissions tour with information and tour, and then they'll eat lunch with our team. They meet with me, and I talk a lot. So I'm at the end of every visit because I never shut up. So basically we had Darryl on, and he's just special. And he's all Gettysburg. And then I'll give a short spiel because I have a student athlete, in there, and they made our current student athletes are so proud of what they've been doing, what they've done, and what they've accomplished. And they'll have a slideshow, and it really shows the special pictures that I'm not even privy to. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Where were you? And their pictures of study abroad, and then they talk about our alums that come back to practice, like they can't stay away, and it's unique. And so that's been a way we've changed, is because it's virtual. And but I struggled in the beginning because I want to see them right across from me. I want to read the body language. I want to know where they're at. So, but we're adjusting and just making it better each time.
Yeah, it certainly has been an adjustment, to be sure. Now, that was the last question I had scripted, but actually I have a question on Facebook that I'm hoping you guys might bear with me for a second. And Darryl, I'm going to start with you because this pertains to the multicultural aspect that you handle, and specifically minorities. So this comes from Alyssa Kawilai, who I believe is a former swimmer. How do you help ensure that minorities feel like they are part of the Gettysburg mission on athletic teams?
Well, here's a two-part answer. First, it's been said by our coaches already. I make sure that they visit the campus so that they can feel the community, because for me, it's not just about what they might do with the sport. It's, if you're not with your coach, if you're not with your teammates, how is the rest of the campus? So certainly, Dr. Darian Davenport in our Office of Multicultural Engagement is a phenomenal individual, but it's the community that is Gettysburg as a whole, from our Vice President for Enrollment, Barbara Fritz, Chief Diversity Officer Gene Arnold, our President Bob Giuliano. I mean, it's literally from our trustees on down to the very last student, every dining hall worker, every professor. They are the ones that make it a comfortable space. So I don't know if it's about me so much or about coaches so much as it is about Gettysburg's community. And Alyssa just basically took advantage of every single thing that she possibly could. And I'm going to do a little boasting about her, but had a great NASA internship and is now locked up a great career at Raytheon Technologies. And she is from my part-time home out in suburban Chicago. So I got to know Alyssa very early in the process, and she literally just lit up Gettysburg College with her personality and talent. So thank you for that question, Alyssa. And, again, it's people like Alyssa who have great experiences who I can reach out to and say, if you are a person whose parents didn't go to college, if you are a person of color, don't listen to me. Let me put you in touch with a student and take myself out of the middle, knowing that Alyssa and other students will say great things about their experiences at Gettysburg. So much love to you, Alyssa.
BJ and Annette, did you guys want to weigh in on that at all? That was ironically the first question I think I fielded from Facebook.
No, that's a great question. We have 2 first-generation students on our team, and we'll have another joining us next year. And there's, being a student-centered campus and the resources that we have at Gettysburg, it's 100% supportive, and it's supportive before they even get on campus. So yeah, the Office of Multicultural Engagement and OME and Monique over there are tremendous. And it's really hard to fall through the cracks at Gettysburg.
BJ, anything to add?
Oh, I would just agree and echo those sentiments as well. Increasing diversity has definitely been something that our program has wanted to do. And I think Gettysburg is a place where everyone is incredibly valued, and there's a ton of support and resources, that can offer before they even arrive on campus.
And I think Alyssa may have just tapped into another Zoom chat down the road as well. So I would be happy to bring on some of the aforementioned people, Darian and Gene Arnold down the road too, to talk about this subject. So thank you, Alyssa, for that question. That's all I got, guys. So thank you so much. We ate up an hour today talking about admissions and recruiting. I think there was some great stuff for aspiring future Bullets. And as always, I mean, you guys are just awesome with everything you do from all sides of the equation. So do you guys have anything else to add?
Good job, Corey.
Thanks,
Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Good to see
guys.
everybody.
Good to see you guys too. So for BJ Dunne, Darryl Jones, and Annette Hunt-Shepard, I am Corey Jewett signing off for today's Bullets Spotlight. Go Bullets.